Good afternoon, thank you for having me. I'm here today to look at a case study on litter prevention that we've been doing in Ku-ring-gai. There we go. Okay, great. Ku-ring-gai Council has been active in the litter space since 2014. We provide daily services for our town centres and neighbourhood centres. We're into street cleaning, landscaping, daily bin collections, and generally just trying to keep the maintenance and amenity of our town centres looking good. So using the EPA funding that became available in 2014, we commenced our litter-free program. So the case study today looks at three town centres, Wahroonga, Turramurra and Gordon. We replicated the same program across Ku-ring-gai using hay tosser collateral. All of these town centres are busy town centres. They all have major transport hubs, so train stations, bus hubs. They all have major supermarket chains, so we've got Woolworths, Coles, IGAs, and they all have the same council services provided. So fairly similar locations, all centred up the Pacific Highway. Each of the sites had a common thread of issues. So we conducted the litter assessment that goes with using their hay tosser funding, and Ku-ring-gai was found to be highly littered. Kind of unexpected when you look at the demographics for Ku-ring-gai. It's a middle class to upper class, high educated area, but it was really highly littered. These are some of our town centres that you'll see images for. There's a lot of McDonald's litter, there's a lot of litter in our landscaping, a lot of litter in our landscaping pots. We also found that across all the sites our infrastructure was poor. Old chairs, old bins, run-down bins, sites that just don't look welcoming if you're in a town centre moving through. Litter also was universally seen from our residents and the visitors to the area as a problem for council to fix. It was a real hands-off approach. Someone else will come along and clean this up. It'll be our street sweepers or it'll be our litter cleaners. So we had a low personal responsibility across the LGA and a high level of complaints. In our customer request system, litter was often a complaint about for Gordon, Turramurra and Wahroonga. There was definitely a baseline for having some litter prevention work conducted. We also had a low engagement with business owners and shopkeepers. Within our town centres, the business owners and the shopkeepers had a low level of responsibility for managing their own waste. You'll see in these pictures we've got overflowing bins, we've got bags sitting outside. The garbage, the litter bins, we've got waste piled up in front of an ATM in Wahroonga from the florist next door because it wasn't a good time for them to compact their waste, their cardboard boxes and take it round to their bins. This was the sort of things that were happening across the place from our businesses and shopkeepers. There was also a low care factor from them as well. So you'll see, we had heaps of problems with milk crates and bread crates and the one where you can see with the milk bottles upside down in the crates, that was actually old milk that was out of date by 18 months. It was in an open storage facility in the back car park at Wahroonga. So the business owners in that area were really not engaged with looking after their waste properly. Very surprising. When I had the EPA visit as part of the grant there, they were completely shocked by the state of the place, given that it was Wahroonga. You would think Wahroonga, it's a high economic area. Very, very low engagement for looking after their village. It's a lovely village, so very surprising. So we commenced with litter-free Wahroonga in 2014. We followed that on to Turramurra in 2015 and Gordon in 2017-18. We are rolling it across our LGA, so we've looked at all our neighbourhood centres. We are rolling this project using the same sorts of philosophies across the LGA. So all of the 3 centres and extended into the other centres, we've all had infrastructure improvements. So we've put in nice new seating. We've put in better bin frames that look more accessible, less yuck factor to them. They're nicer, they're newer, they're shinier. We've put in butt bins in a few of the centres with mixed response to them. And as you can see, the mall seats are starting to lift the look of the town centres. So it's starting to look a bit better just through improvement with infrastructure. We upgraded the landscaping. So we're working on really on the philosophy that if the amenity looks nice and it looks cared for, then you're going to change the culture of the place and people are going to start to care for it. So we've planted out. The pot there was actually chosen by the shopkeepers, the purple pot with the begonia, I think it is, and they took it upon themselves to look after them, which was really helpful. We've planted in hedges and things like that. You can see in the middle photo there, we've got a small hedge just growing. That's to help reduce the amount of graffiti. That's Gordon. We get a lot of graffiti in the Gordon Town Centre. Generally just trying to lift the whole area through improving their landscaping. We did a lot of cleansing. There was a lot of cleansing to be done, a lot of graffiti removal. We did footpath cleaning, so we got in machines to get rid of the gum and generally give everything a good clean up. The middle photo is a corner in a car park in Gordon. If anybody knows Wade Lane car park, it's very old, it's a bit shabby, doesn't look fantastic, but we have put on a nice new coat of paint. We've redone the plantings in the middle there, and hopefully the paint's not a great invitation for a whole lot of graffiti, but we're going to be on that fairly fast. We've gone through the car parks and got rid of all the built-up leaf litter and dumped vegetation, things like that. The end one of the footpath, that's Ku-ring-gai, and it came up beautifully with some significant cleaning. We used all the messaging from the Hay Tosser campaign, so a range of stuff. We've got footpath decals pointing out where butt bins are. We've got footpath decals pointing out where the closest litter bin is. We have a laneway in Gordon. Gordon has McDonald's, it has Subway, Pizza Hut, so quite a few fast food restaurants. McDonald's is a 24-hour, 7 days a week one. And we have a alleyway within, running from the car park beside McDonald's, and it has these fantastic Besser bricks which just get filled with McDonald's wrappings and drink containers and things as people walk down the alleyway. We've got bins at the top and the bottom, but the Besser bricks are a favourite. So we put a sign over the, which is the banner there, over the Besser bricks to, say, come on, please do the right thing there, take your rubbish with you. Unfortunately, that was one of our challenges in that the banner lasted 5 days before it was ripped to shreds, and we had to take it down, which was very disappointing. But anyway, we had engagement at each of the locations, so in the town centre at Ku-ring-gai, in the town centre at Turramurra, and in the town centre of Gordon. We've used banners throughout the LGA on a sort of a rolling schedule, so that we're going from all our major routes into the town centre, so it's a broad message coming in. I have a lot of problem with butt litter. So the last one there on the end, there's a little poster of one of the pots in Linfield, which was filled with absolutely filled with butt litter. So I made a poster and stuck it in each of all the little landscaping pots to say, bin your butts, please don't put them here. So what was the results over the 3 town centres? Well, some town centres improved more than others, which is baffling to start with, given that so many similarities, the same program rolling out across the LGA, but with different results. So for Ku-ring-gai, which was the first one we did in 2014, we went from 127 items of litter down to 12. This was measured at the end of the grant, and then again 2 years later. Before I kicked off in Gordon, I wanted to make sure that what I had really achieved in Wahroonga and Turramurra had been sustained. So it wasn't just litter improvement that lasted while we were doing the project, but that changed and stayed changed. So we found a 91% improvement 2 years later, which was delightful. The town centre still looks fabulous. The bins still look fabulous, and the amount of shopkeeper rubbish on the street has remained limited. So Turramurra was the place we had the biggest success. It's quite a large town centre and runs with the Pacific Highways through it. It got 2 sides of the train station as well. In 2015, the original litter check found 239 items of litter, so highly littered in such a small space. And going back and re-evaluating in 2017, 9 pieces of litter. An absolute delightful outcome 2 years later, been sustained. Gordon. So Gordon has been the challenge. So initially 171 items of litter in 2015. I just, a month ago, decided to do a midway project check because I wasn't happy with the results I'd been getting and wanted to delve into a bit more why that was so different at Gordon, given the success at other places. So we've had a 66% improvement. That's better than the 40% target, so it's still good, but not good enough. So why are there the difference in the results? This is the question for me. What I figured was there were 3 types of businesses and shopkeeper communities in these 3 communities. We've had a willing business community, we've had a reluctant business community, and we've had one that straight out refused to get with the program. So just to go over again, the visual, Turramurra doing really well, Wahroonga doing well, Gordon getting there. So Turramurra had the greatest improvement. They were incredibly willing to embrace what was going on in their town centre. And the business community there really embedded down the changes that we were making. They had a group called Beautify Turramurra, and we linked up together, and they were the ones who really went in and knocked on the doors with the shopkeepers and said, right, we're getting on board with this. And they were the ones that got the plants looked after, chose the colours for the pots, chose the colours for what they wanted out of their plants. They were the ones that really got into the engagement programs. It was a real partnership which affected these change. So they were hands-on, definitely hands-on. And because of that hands-on, I think it's been sustained for the 2 years in such a powerful way. So Wahroonga, the first cab off the rank, they were reluctant. It was challenging to get the shopkeepers and the business owners involved. They were reluctant to change their personal practices about how they managed their own waste. And it was a continual visit engagement with them. It was a continual discussion to show them how they could change their practices and what effect that would have on the community if they were looking after their own waste responsibility. And in doing that, that would then show that engagement to their visitors and their community as well. So it was getting 2 individual shopkeepers as well. There's a business there called Charcoal Chickens, and they had a couple of outdoor seats for their takeaway, but they didn't want to be responsible for the rubbish that they created outside their shop. So the minute you stepped out in the shop and sat at their outdoor seating, which was just a casual, it wasn't a service table, it was just casual seating, it was hands off for the rubbish. Eventually we got them to get on board, but it was engaging with them, also engaging with them in a regulatory sense too, so having the environmental health people there to talk to them, having our rangers there to visit and to remind them. We had trouble with florists as well, which surprised me because they didn't want to take the time out of their shops to dispose of their packaging material. They were quite happy to just leave it out the front next to the litter bins. So it was this constant having to visit, having to explain. When they started to see that council was committed to improving it, putting in the new bins, making sure it was clean all the time, fixing any issues that came up, that commitment started to change their minds slowly, and they started to get on board. By the end of the project, the place was absolutely beautiful, and it was a lovely place to visit. And the shopkeepers and the business owners were delighted because it made the amenity of the village. It has lots of cafes, lots of restaurants, lots of little shops to, you know, just go in and have a little shop and a browse if you're having a coffee afterwards. So that eventually brought them on, and they got with the program, and we had good results. We got rid of all these milk crates, and we got rid of all of the bakers' crates. We got rid of the waste the commercial waste sitting on the footpaths out the front of their shops. So eventually we had that support and commitment from the shopkeepers, and they became responsible for their waste. We got there in the end. So Gordon is my centre for refusal. Gordon has been incredibly challenging. We have done the infrastructure improvements, so every new seat has been replaced with a brand spanking beautiful new seat. We've got new bins, we've got more bins, we've got new landscaping. We've really made sure that our street sweepers are doing a good, thorough job. We've got cigarette butt bins. We've got every piece of infrastructure that you can imagine to make the amenity of the place look great. Still, I wasn't getting the buy-in. I hooked up with our business community officer. We sent 168 letters out to the business community in Gordon, individually addressed. We put in a survey monkey with it to get their opinions, to see if they would be involved. We got 2 responses out of the 168 letters, and those 2 responses were really about complaining about what McDonald's were doing. So it wasn't actually they were willing to get engaged, but they wanted us to get McDonald's to fix their litter outside the shop. So then we went, all right, we've got to hook in with some of the major centres. So Gordon Centre, McDonald's. Still, the business owners there are refusing to be responsible for their waste. We've still got the waste chocked up in the Besser bricks. So on looking at what is the differences between these 3 sides, I think the key factor for the sustained result is having that link to the business community there. Gordon doesn't have a Chamber of Commerce, it doesn't have a business community group, it doesn't have anything like that. It still has the same amount of visitors, it still has the kind of people that go through the other 2, but without those key supports from the business communities, it has been so challenging. So for the sustained result at Wahroonga and Turramurra, I think the key has been the Beautify Turramurra Group and the Wahroonga Chamber of Commerce who got behind it. And it's also been the willingness of the individual shopkeepers to get behind it as well. So where to here for Gordon? Well, we're going to keep working there. I'm not done yet. I'm not happy with 66%. It's not good enough. We can do better than that. We're going to continue our messaging around the place, replacing things when they get stolen, putting stuff back up, and continuing the messaging across the LGA so those who are coming into Gordon know the messaging already. We're going to continue improving the amenity. We're going to continue working on making it look like a place that is cared for so that the culture can be seen that it is a place that you need to care for and there is an investment in caring for it. And hopefully that will have a flow-on effect to change the culture of refusal from the business owners. And we're looking now to try and establish a business community partnership there, trying to establish some sort of group for the community to get involved in. And we're looking at partnershiping with Better Business Partnership, who run a campaign in a couple of the sites across the northern region. One of the really successful one is called I Love Crow's Nest. So we're looking at putting together an I Love Gordon campaign and hopefully getting that investment from the shopkeepers and business partners there. Okay, that's it. Any questions? Got time for questions?